Hello. Yes, you can see from the title, this is a somewhat different video from me. All of the stuff I do on YouTube and all the social media is all about business, either about McLaren's and our McLaren workshop side, or about Silverstone Shooting Centre and our police training type stuff with targets. This is somewhat different. So I'm going to tell you a story and it'll explain why I'm doing this, hopefully at the end. So going back about 3 months or so, I've been watching YouTube and social media and the TV all about prostate cancer. And I'm 56 years old. And I'm a typical bloke. Don't go to doctors, you know, far as I'm concerned, unless I'm dying, and far as I'm no go to hospital. Far as I'm concerned, always did it myself and look after. Typical bloke, you know what? I'm not ill.
'Tis but a scratch.
A scratch? Your arm's off.
No, it isn't.
Well, what's that then?
I've heard worse.
But after seeing all this social media and all the celebrities having prostate cancer, I thought, you know what, 56 years old, I'm going to go and get myself tested. So I went down to my local doctors in Brackley and I went to the receptionist and I said, hello, I'd like to have a PSA test. Now, PSA, for those you don't know, is a test of the enzyme in the blood, which is created by the prostate gland, which, lucky for you ladies, you don't have, only most blokes have. It's a small gland, it creates this enzyme, and you're measured by the level of your PSA, which I'll explain in a second, in your blood. And I went to reception, I said, hello, can I have a PSA test, please? And the receptionist said, why? And I said, well, I'll keep reading about it, I'm 56 years old, I'd like to get tested. And it wasn't quite an argument, but let's say I had to be fairly persuasive in my request. I have no symptoms, and I had no symptoms. In fact, I'm not even going to cover the symptoms in this video, because as far as I'm concerned, as a typical bloke, we are too related to the idea, there's a symptom, something wrong with me, get it tested. I have no symptoms, nothing at all. I had no issues in terms of weeing or going to bed or going to sleep or everything else, anything you want. The whole load of symptoms, you Google symptoms, prostate cancer, not that I want you to, I had none of them, but I wanted to get tested. So a little bit of argument with the receptionist, eventually booked me in for a prostate test, a PSA test. Now PSA, the different levels. So I'm 56 years old. So the level for my age, between 50 and 60 is 3.5, below 50, 2.5, above 60, 4.5. And I'm not going to go into the huge details of it. You can Google all that till the cows come home. But the fact is, it was a test to have. Now, I'll be honest with you, it was a simple blood test. I had to have a urine test as well, just to assure I have no urinary tract infection. And I had to avoid any exercise or sexual activity before the test. Now, 56 years old, that's not that hard for me.
That's what she said.
But so I went in for the test. And 3 or 4 days later on, I got a test and I was advised to come in. So I thought, okay, fair enough. I came in and they said, John, your level is 3.6. Okay, it's borderline. It's just over the 3.5 we'd expect you to have, but it's above that rate. We want to test you again just to make sure. Now, at this point in time, I wasn't concerned. I'm slightly over, no big deal. What the hell? It's only a blood test. They took another syringe of blood out of me a week later, and again I get the message. And this time I got a phone call saying,
I don't know who you are.
Hello, John, can you come in? We need to see you again. Now, I will admit I was slightly more concerned at that. And I go in and they say, we've done the test again and it's 3.9. Now, I again raise the question, is this an issue? And it's all, you're elevated, but it's something to look into. Now, as you get older, your PSA level will go up naturally because your prostate gland, which I'm sure we'll put some graphics out there explaining the detail of it, does grow as you get older. It's a natural consequence. As it grows, it creates more. But in that realm, that 3.5 I should be under, I was over that. So they tested again. So they said, okay, right, we've had 2 raised level tests. The next thing to do is to go and do an investigation on it. Now, here's where it gets the bit of times interesting. So I was discussing it and I said, oh, having a prostate test. And yes, it does involve a doctor putting their fingers up your arse to feel your prostate gland. Now, I will admit, my arse is a one-way street. As far as I'm concerned, it only goes one way up there. And so the idea of some man putting his fingers up there wasn't something I was really overly keen on doing. But I was doing making sure I'm healthy, and all this internet stuff about PSA tests. I thought, you know what, got to be here, haven't I? Now, I will admit, you know, I'm sure there are my gay viewers here going, it's fine. But for me, that's not something I've done. So I was a bit nervous. So I go into doctors and I will admit, my doctor was half my age, and I did my best to make light of the situation. You know, sitting down and saying, shouldn't we talk and get to know each other first, this kind of stuff? Forget it, all right? Doctors have no sense of humour when it comes to putting fingers up bums. And even the things after saying, can you make sure you count your rings if you still got your watch? Nothing. They have no interest in this humour, trust me, or at least my guy didn't. Anyway, so you roll down, you lie on your side, you put your knees to your chest, he greases himself up and he sticks his fingers up your ass to feel your prostate. And yes, was it uncomfortable? Yes. Was it painful? No. Was it something I wish to repeat? No. And what he's doing is he's putting his fingers up there and he's feeling the surface of the prostate to feel how big it is and feel if it's rough. Now, I don't know about you, but it takes me quite some time to feel if something's rough or not, you know. But he was up and down there quicker than you could blink. And I guess he wanted least time up my arse as possible, which I imagine is probably sensible. But he came back and said, yeah, bit bigger than I like. So, and the surface feels smooth, but it's bigger than we expect. I think we need to get you onto the next stage testing. Now, I will admit, at this point in time, I did get worried. Okay, apart from anything else, and I'll explain why I'm doing this video in a second, I, as a registered firearms dealer and a range owner and a firearms owner, are very heavily controlled in terms of my mental state. So if I'm depressed, for example, that is grounds for me to remove all of my licenses because of the fear to the public. So I was wary and I did what I thought was the right thing to do, is I contacted my firearms inquiry officer, I contacted the local police and said, to let you know, I've had some dodgy tests about potential cancer, prostate cancer. I'm perfectly fine, but I want to raise that process with you, and I explained that to the range master of the club members here as well. The right thing to do. And they said, fine, thanks, John, let's know, no big deal. But I must admit, at this point in time, I was worried. And I did look at Google, and I became an expert like most people do. And the concern at that point in time was what happens next. So the next stage you have is an MRI test. An MRI, big metal tube, makes horrible banging noises, taking a view of your prostate to see if there's anything in there, any kind of polyps or something's there, to see if there's something that's concerned of. Now, it took about 2 weeks to get tested, and during that 2 weeks, I will admit, I probably overreacted a bit, and I said, you know what, I'm reassessing my life a little bit here. If I do have prostate cancer, I'm the only salary earner in my family, really, in terms of process, so I have an entire family reliant on me, and I have 10 members of staff who pay their mortgages. What would I do? And so I did over-extrapolate it a bit, but I decided, you know what, had the MRI test, go through, and it comes out there's nothing in there. Okay, so the title of this video is the answer is no, I don't have prostate cancer. What I do have is markers that suggest that prostate cancer is potential. So I am now what's known as on the cancer pathway. Now, I don't know about you, but pathway suggests to me it's a journey to get somewhere. So I don't like the phrase personally, but it means now I have tests more regularly to see how my PSA is doing, and ditto MRI test seeing it's there. So I'm looking at that process behind it. So I am delighted to say I don't have prostate cancer. However, so why am I doing this video? Now, I have two businesses. One is McLarens and tuning and racing and road cars, and the other one is shooting. I do shooting and I do training and I do police training, all kinds of bits, and I build targets. Now, with that particular set of businesses, the vast majority of my customers and the people I work with are middle-aged men in their 40s to 50s, because that's the demographic for shooting and that's the demographic for McLaren ownership. Not complete, I've got plenty of lady customers in both shooting and on McLarens, but in the majority of people I'm in contact with are middle-aged men. Now also, a lot of my suppliers, my paint shop, my tyre supplier, various places, they're all middle-aged men. It just happens to be that process behind it. So the situation here is I mentioned this to people, and not one of them had any idea about prostate cancer. They knew about it, they saw about it, they understood it, what's going on, but they didn't understand, and they didn't really pay attention to it. And none of them had even contemplated the idea of going and see the doctors about it. And I said, well, no symptoms at all, why have I bothered? So I thought to myself, if these guys haven't thought about prostate cancer and don't concern themselves about it, then perhaps lots of people who are in my position, middle-aged men, don't think about it. It's not about symptoms. Now, the thing to consider is that around about 12 to 13,000 ladies a year die of breast cancer. And there is a coordinated breast cancer screening program in the UK for it. My wife suffered breast cancer, fortunately in remission 10 years ago. But she screened and screened and screened, it picked up and got breast cancer, treated and cured. Men, 14,000 people in the UK die of prostate cancer. That's more than breast cancer. But there's no screening process. It's reliant on symptoms. People like us going in saying something wrong with me and then dealing with it. Now, I had no symptoms. I have no symptoms. And I don't have prostate cancer. It's great. But how many of you watching this, and I'm going to make the assumption a good proportion of you are middle-aged men, have even thought about it? So what I'm doing this video for is to say, you know what? Why don't you go and get a test? Worst case, nothing wrong with you. Absolute best case. But maybe there is something there. And maybe that early stage is where it's treatable. Because prostate cancer is very treatable if caught early. If you treat it late, it becomes terminal. So I thought myself, I don't normally do personal videos, but I thought myself, if just one person watches this video and goes, yeah, screw it, I'll go get tested. Oh, it is elevated. Oh, it is treatable. Oh, I am going to survive. Then I'll feel I've done something right for the world. So happy to say I don't have prostate cancer. I hope to God you don't too, but perhaps go and find out just to make sure. Okay, cheers.